Hello, Foundations of Leadership class. I know you weren't able to make it the other day, and so we're going to go ahead and do this session online so that you can get caught up here and fill out this assignment. We do need you to fill out this feedback worksheet that is attached here, and there's a part 1 and a part 2, and we'll see how much we can get through here. But we really want to give you this opportunity so that you can hear feedback. My guess is that you've had opportunities in your life to receive feedback, and sometimes you've received it quite well. Other times maybe it's been difficult, and that's okay. The reality is that we have to learn to get feedback. And the worksheet here, you'll see that feedback is everywhere. Annually in the United States alone, these things happen. Every child in school will be handed back as many as 300 assignments, papers, and tests, each of them with some type of grade or feedback. Almost 2 million teenagers will receive SAT scores and face decisions about whether they can get into college or not. At least 40 million people will be sizing one another up for love online. That's kind of creepy. And over 250,000 weddings will be called off, and 877,000 spouses will file for divorce. At work, 12 million people will lose a job, and 500,000 entrepreneurs will open their doors to a new business, while 600,000 will close their doors, all because maybe they didn't receive the feedback that they needed in order to make a business successful. Along with that, about 825 million work hours will be spent preparing for and engaging in performance reviews. And I know this can be difficult, getting a review, but at the same time, it's so important to recognize that we need to be able to receive feedback. So how do we define feedback? Feedback is defined as any information that you receive about yourself. That's it. We get self-feedback when we look in the mirror, and maybe that feedback would be different if somebody else were looking at us. Maybe they would see different things than what we see. Sometimes our feedback is determined or is jaded by fear or an unhealthy relationship, but it's so important that we receive feedback about ourselves and learn what to do with it, because you will get it in your job, whether it be in ministry or whether it be in business. And so here's what we're going to take a look at today. Feedback is important because good feedback will lead you to growth. Every opportunity you have, if you're going along all level, every opportunity you have for feedback, however you respond to that feedback, will either be in a positive sense or a negative sense. And so what we want to do is we want to equip you in order to be able to receive good feedback. So here's part of what's going on here. There's 3 different types of basic feedback that you will receive in life. We're going to call it ACE, A-C-E. The first, it's appreciation. This means that somebody recognizes in you something good that you're doing, and so they appreciate you. They tell you you're doing a good job, or they recognize you for doing something that maybe somebody else wouldn't do. The second is coaching. This is where people come alongside of you and offer you advice or wisdom to help guide you along the way. And the final one is evaluation. These are where you have your rates or ranks that they put you up against somebody else, a set of standards or your peers. This is where you get a grade or some type of report. And this is difficult to receive when it's evaluation, because we automatically are on the defense and we want people to know we're doing a good job. But every good person and every good organization needs all 3 kinds of feedback to survive. But what normally happens is that the appreciation gets left out. About 93% of American workforce feels like they are underappreciated at work. And about 50% of people who leave their job site being underappreciated as the primary reason for leaving. So the other thing that happens is that oftentimes evaluation and coaching get mixed up together. And this can be a problem because evaluation is the most emotionally loud and it drowns out the coaching. Examples are when you get a feedback paper in college, when you get a paper back, what do you look at first? You always go look at the grade. When in fact, the actual, the details along the side are what can help you to improve. And at the end of the day, what we really want aren't just good grades, but we want to grow as people. And so that's where the coaching can actually be better off. And at the same time, the annual review at work. We can look at the number of stars we get or how many points out of 10 our boss ranks us, when in all reality, the comments that they say when they coach us are what we probably need to listen to the most. So let's be careful about getting those mixed up. So there's a couple different ways that we see this in Scripture, and I'm going to go over two of the three. I'll go over the third, but I'll do it a different way, and maybe it won't fill out your blanks okay, and that's all right. So the first is appreciation. One of these that we see in Luke 17, verses 11 through 19, is when Jesus heals 10 lepers. And of course, what happens, he sends them off to the priest, and they, rather than all of them coming back to thank Jesus, what happens is only one of them comes back and thanks Jesus. And we can learn about that passage a lot, is that the lack of appreciation is not something new. It's something that is a part of our human nature, where we have to work to overcome that. And if we work to overcome that and to show appreciation, what happens is that people see us in a brighter view. We'll be more prone to be able to excel, because so much of what we do, whether in business or ministry or anywhere else, is about appreciation and valuing those relationships. The second thing that we see when it comes to coaching is in Luke 11, verse 1. This is Luke's version of the Lord's Prayer, where he says, "Lord, teach us to pray." Well, this is actually the disciples that are asking Jesus. They come to him because they see that he's praying well. They see that he's praying different, and they want to learn how to pray like Jesus. And so they ask him for coaching. Now, I think this is really important for us to understand in our world, because if we go to our bosses, if we go to our superiors, if we go to our leaders and ask for coaching, we are going to be more favorably received. If we're always waiting for coaching or instruction, that's something that can be a bad thing for us. But if we want people's input and we show them that we value their input to grow both on our own behalf, but also for the good of the business or the ministry, that can be an excellent thing. The third thing is evaluation. And I don't necessarily think that the passage that was listed here by my predecessors that wrote this is something that I really care for a lot. It's good, but it's just not me. So we're going to skip over that passage in John 2. But I think a lot of times what we see is evaluation from the prophets in Scripture, or from Paul when he's writing letters to the churches. And we see that what's going on is that he's saying, hey, there's some things here where you're falling short, and these need to improve as followers of Jesus. In the letters from Jesus in the book of Revelation, we see that as well, where Jesus is constantly talking to the churches and saying, hey, here's some things you're doing well, here's some things that aren't so well, and you need to improve, you need to grow in these areas. And so as we think about this, as we prepare for section 2, there's some things that you want to think about in here. One is, how am I receiving this feedback? How is it that I receive feedbacks from other people? Do I always take it personally? Or is it something that I shame myself in, as opposed to like getting mad at them? Do I like always like beat myself up, as opposed to recognizing that I'm a child of God, but I'm still growing? I'm someone that wants to grow and become more like Christ in everything. And so in order to do that, I need to receive that feedback from people who love me and care about me. So the section 2 is where we're going to spend the most of our time, and so we'll start that on the next video. And again, if there's some type of blank on here, we do want you to fill this out and turn it in. But at the same time, if there's something that I don't cover on this, you can just cross that off. Don't worry about answering the question, because at the end of the day, this was prepared by a previous instructor, and I just want to make sure you get the basics here, but we're not going to cover everything in the video. So go ahead and watch section 2 and fill out the forms, and we'll look forward to seeing you then.